This is More Than Work, the podcast reminding you that your self-worth is made up of more than your job title. Each week, I'll talk to a guest about how they discovered that for themselves. You'll hear about what they did, what they're doing, and who they are. I'm your host, Rabiah. I work in IT, perform stand-up comedy, write, volunteer, and, of course, podcast. Thank you for listening. Here we go. Welcome back to More Than Work, everyone. So this week I have a guest that actually came to me via email, and I checked out his website that him and his brother put together and their product, and I'm really excited to talk to him. So it's Freddie Titcombe, and he is the co-founder of Evolve Journey. So thanks for being on, Freddie.
Thank you. Thanks very much for your prompt reply to my email and for having me. It's exciting to chat to you.
Yeah, you hit me on the right day because someone might be listening who's contacted me and been like, I've never heard from you, and that's possible too. So just hit me back up.
Yeah.
Let's see. So first of all, where am I chatting to you from right now?
I'm down in Devon at the moment. Yeah, I've been here for the weekend visiting my parents and catching up with some old friends. So yeah, down by the seaside. Hopefully we won't get interrupted by the terrorist seagulls that are out there like dive bombing everyone in the garden and coming in my parents' house and eating the food. That's a new trick that they've learned.
They
So
come in.
yeah. Yeah, it's. I think if they evolve one step further, they might figure out that they could actually kill us if they wanted to, if they ganged up, you know? So,
Yeah. Or maybe
so
they'll like own property.
yeah,
You'll have to go into their house.
yeah, yeah. It's one of those where it's like if they did evolve to do that and they like killed one person in a group, then the human reaction would be so aggressive. It would be like wipe
Yeah,
seagulls off the face of the earth
it would.
immediately.
There
So,
would be a
um,
hashtag for sure, right?
yeah.
I see seagulls, but I'm in Camden in London. But pigeons are kind of like the seagull of Camden, I think, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
there's a comedian I know that refers to them as like lads, like just on the corner, just hanging out on the corner, walking around. I'm like, yeah, they totally are. And it's just, yeah, it's wild. So yeah, and yeah, seagulls are awful. I know it's like the birds you see most and like the birds you dislike the most, right? Or seagulls,
Yeah,
pigeons. Yeah,
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 exactly. And you've got people that they've never seen them before when they come here, and there's loads of them, and then they feed them, and then the whole thing gets worse and worse. And
yeah.
yeah, yeah, we were like hiding underneath an umbrella yesterday with my friend and his kids, whilst they so that they could have snacks. That's what it's come to.
That's wild. I guess I'm gonna tie this together. But you were talking about seagulls evolving into possibly murderous birds, but your company is called Evolve Journey, which is about a different type of evolution. So what is Evolve Journey?
So, Evolve Journey is a business that me and my brother set up back in 2020. Um, at the time, if you cast back, we were in a position where like we were best mates, and then all of a sudden we weren't allowed to see each other. So we were
Mm,
like, "This sucks. Let's start a business that will keep us chatting, that will keep us busy." And the first few iterations of that business were just like really crass money-making schemes and all the rest of it. And in the process of iteration, we had both started journaling, and then one day the penny dropped, and we were like, "Wow, we're actually getting quite a lot from this journaling and the reflection. It's helping us take action. It's helping us get clear on the direction that we want to take, and then stay consistent, which is something we'd struggled with before." So we were like, okay, cool, let's level up our journaling game. And then we looked out there because all of a sudden the blank page started to become a little bit intimidating. I don't know if you've ever sat
hmm
down to just journal and you're like, whoa, where
Yeah.
do I start? What am I saying? It feels kind of cringy. You're
hmm
like, what am I talking about? So for us anyway, and I know it is powerful for some people, the like free form journaling, but for us it just didn't work. So we were like, let's buy one. And we went out there, and then it was just like a slog of really cringy, repetitive stuff. We actually felt worse from writing down 3 times a day, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for?
hmm
And like a week in, you're like, I don't know. I really don't know. And I'm just saying the same stuff and I'm not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
So the penny dropped and we thought that we could do journaling in a better way. We, back then in 2020, then spent, yeah, hundreds of different iterations working through to create our own all-in-one journal. And then fast forward to today, it's like the best-selling all-in-one journal in the UK. And when I say all-in-one, what that means is inside the journal, you have a discovery course, which is where you start. That's your journey. That helps you to remove limiting beliefs, to get clear on your vision that you're building towards, your main focus that you're going to set out in the coming up journal. So that really primes you ready for the evolution, the journey that you're
Hmm.
about to go on. And then after that, we have a daily system that is a blend of gratitude, habit tracking, different productivity tools like Eat the Frog, and then there's some stoicism sort of mixed in there as well, and some unique questions to get you thinking to basically take you on a journey and get you from lost, stuck, confused, wanting more to consistent and moving in the direction that um you're excited about.
Great. Yeah, and it is intimidating, and just even in writing like non-journal stuff sometimes for me, like just in comedy specifically, like it'll be like, well, write a joke about a subject, and it's just like, no, I can't. Or just write down ideas for 5 minutes and something will come up or whatever. But then sometimes you can get going and sometimes you can't. Especially it's journaling can be very isolating and a thing that's you do you well it is very isolating. It's something you do on your own. You're not necessarily going to share it with anyone unless you're going to publish a book of your journals eventually or something. But it's a exercise that then it's easy to stop doing and easy to just
Mm.
skip because there's no accountability other than to you. And so I think you know one thing I read through a lot of what you guys are about, and I'm getting my journal soon, and I'm looking forward to trying it out because I think it's something I need. And just we had talked personally like last week about some things, but I think, what do you tell someone who goes, "Oh, I'd buy it, but I tend to end up skipping a day at some point, and I'm not going to be able to stick with it every day." What do you say to them?
Yeah, I mean that for me that is completely fine, and it's almost like part of the process that we're not trying to journal every day. It's like, it's a tool that we can fall back on that we realize if we do it, we have a better day. If you go on holiday, our
Mm-hmm.
journals are very focused on appreciating what you have and doing more in a day, essentially, if you were to boil it down into a nutshell. On holiday, you don't need a kick up the ass for that. You are appreciating the holiday. It's great. And
Yeah.
you don't need to be more productive. You're trying to do the opposite. So you want to have a break from journaling maybe, but the interesting part is that then you break the habit, you break the cycle, and then you come back
Mm-hmm.
from holiday, and then all of a sudden you don't journal for the first week that you're back, and then you start having these conversations with myself like, oh, I've stopped journaling. I remember when I used to journal, that was good. Oh, it's just difficult, and there's a bit of friction. So yeah, I we always recommend to just treat it flexibly. It's a system that you can use and adapt to yourself. And then where we've come as a business, recently we launched our Accountability Academy, which is an online community of people that are using the journal,
Mm-hmm.
but wanted an extra bit of support and feeling like they're going on a journey with other people that helps them stay consistent. So people are using that as a way to sort of that extra little reminder and motivation to keep on with the habit and go that step further as well.
Yeah. And so, how's that work with the it's people? Do they just join a Facebook group and they journal together, or what is the accountability part and what's happening with that?
Yeah, sure. So they come on to our online platform, and inside there they've got everyone else that's on the same journey with them, and there's tons going on there. But we've got things like co-working sessions happening every week, and then that people can join. It would look like this, me and you,
Mm-hmm.
except we'd be silently working, and I found it incredibly useful since I started doing it because I'm I realize how much when I think I'm working, I'm not working.
Yeah.
So when I'm in those sessions, I'm very aware that if I'm going to pick up my phone and then start
Yeah.
scrolling through my phone, that's not work. And I'm aware because I set my intention when I go into the co-working that I'm going to do this one thing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
aware of just how much I'm a scatterbrain of like task switching. I'm always
Hmm.
productive when I'm there, but I'm going between different things. So it's actually helped me go deeper into specific exercises. So there's that, which is the co-working. We have regular office hours where people can come in and have a chat. So that would be like, I'm struggling with this blocker at the moment. Any advice? Or sometimes people just want to feel like someone's in their team, so they join in and they're really proud of something they've done because they've been taking consistent action towards whatever their goal was, maybe like something in their career or their business or something towards their health, and they just want to feel like celebrated. So
Hmm.
there's that part as well, and then we have weekly check-ins with people, and that's where we provide the accountability, help them identify what their biggest blockers are. So I could go on. There's tons going on in there, but it's
Yeah.
an exciting project, and it's the first time that we've had regular FaceTime with the people that are using the journal, and it's been really cool to see the community that we've built just in action, live, working together, and how people are building themselves up.
Yeah, yeah. So the thing with the whole co-working kind of thing, I had told you that I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, and I had no idea I had it, so it was just very shocking to me because I always had a bad attitude about ADHD, and now I'm like, oh, it's me. But one thing I heard about was the whole idea of body doubling, which the co-working sounds very similar to, where just there's an accountability just with someone else being there versus you, yeah, going off and doing five different things. I think even keeping it at your computer, which, I'm not going to get up in the middle of this chat certainly, but I will when I'm trying to work on something start doing dishes because of course I have to do them while I'm trying to get something done, right? But do you find, like, how did you come up with like the different aspects of what you guys are doing in the group that you've created?
Yeah, I guess it came from a bit of reflection on our part where we were seeing some people that were just incredibly consistent with the journal, and then
Hmm.
others that they'd come to us and they'd recognize when they use it, the impacts are great and they love it. However, they've not used it for 2 months because of
Hmm.
insert reason, right? And they were like coming on and falling off. So, and we'd naturally stayed consistent, but quite a lot of that had come from the fact that me and my brother, being business partners, were had these systems that we were using to hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
We had the weekly meetings where we were going through the system that we now use in the academy, and we thought maybe there's something to this that people might be interested in themselves. And
Hmm.
we sort of went through it's about 12 months in the making of like coming up with these different systems, trying them on ourselves and being like, no, that's gross, hate it. Another one for the bin.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like, I guess, yeah, we're pretty open to the fact that the majority of what we do is going to be a failure, and we treat it as a test, and then we go on to the next one. So we basically tested the life out of it, and now we're launched for our founding members, which is
Hmm.
the first round of like real tests with real people, getting feedback from them, and we're treating it like an experiment really, and we're open to learning from their feedback, and then we're going to approve it again, and then release it to the wider public, and hopefully continue to grow it. So we have a good percentage of the people that are journaling, if they feel like they want that extra support and that
Hmm.
community, that they join us there as well.
Yeah, cool. Is there something that well, first of all, I guess with the journal, since it's structured and there are different aspects that you would do every day and then other questions you add in, is there a part that you look forward to the most? And then is there a part that you go, man, this is still something that's a challenge for me and it's good it's there because I wouldn't do it if it wasn't there?
Yeah, I think the the one that I look forward to and dread the most, depending on what I've written down, is the Eat the Frog. So
Hmm.
that's the productivity tool, Eat the Frog. It comes from the saying that if your job is to eat frogs, make sure you eat the biggest, ugliest one first, right? So
Hmm.
what we try and do is either that morning or the night before, we'll set the big task for the day, the big frog. So this is the thing that's going to have the highest impact on whatever. We try and link it back into our main mission for the 6 months it's in the journal. So my main mission at the moment, my we call it a domino goal, is quite related to the business. So I will have something that I do every day that I've identified as the highest leverage
Mm-hmm.
activity for that day. And sometimes it just sucks and it's like a slog and it's something that you don't want to do
Yeah.
and you dread it. But the fact you've written it down, you know that if you eat that frog in that day and everything else goes to shit. Hope I can swear on this podcast.
It's
Uh,
fine.
go, goes to shit, um, then your day's been a success because you did that one thing. And then
Yeah.
that's how we see people that come to us who are struggling with confidence. They've got quite a lot of self-doubt and they are often overthinkers. We find that having something like that, especially if you make that frog smaller, you've got quite a nice win each day.
Mm-hmm.
You- And then you start building momentum. And then we've seen those people that struggled with the self-belief shift into almost confident in themselves because they've got a stack of undeniable proof over the
Yeah.
days, weeks, and months that they've been able to do the thing that at once say like felt so big and scary and insurmountable.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I mean, I think even in like I'm a project manager outside of, you know, podcasting and comedy and other volunteering and things I do. And even when you're doing your planning, I mean, there's always something you have to do. There's like the idea of dependencies, right? And
Mm.
different tasks being dependent on each other. And then usually there is one that, in your day, you might avoid. Like, I don't want to write the business requirements, for example, but I have to do that in order for them to build anything, for example, right? And I think for me, I've thought about that in terms of my life and like things I have to do. And even the frog one day might just be the thing that's burdening you the most. Like, it might not even be that hard of a task to do, but it's the thing that sticks in your mind that you're not getting done. And so it's like keeping you from doing everything else, right? I mean,
Hmm.
there's all different things for people. Um,
Yeah.
were you, prior to starting this company and starting the journaling with your brother, which is great that you guys found that. I mean, there were some positive things that came out of the 2020-2021 period, which is we're lucky for, right? And it's good that you and your brother had each other to do that with during that time. But did you consider yourself a disciplined person before, or has this changed something about the way you kind of run your life?
I was an aspiring disciplined person. I was like listening to the podcasts, reading the books,
Yeah.
I'd always been consistent with going to the gym. That was probably one thing that I'd
Okay.
managed to nail since I was like 16. And that wasn't for aesthetics or anything other than the fact that that's the only thing that keeps me fully sane and not
Mm-hmm.
stressed. And it's just so good for my head. So I've al always been able to identify the I'd say the reward in going to the gym rather than any of the punishment.
Okay.
So that's always come easy. But other than that, yeah, was struggling with discipline and consistency, chasing shiny objects, getting really excited about one thing until it gets slightly hard, then dropping it, and
Yeah.
then which realistically, I think if I'd started this business just on my own it has got so hard on so many different occasions that
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have quit. Whereas because we've got the two of us and we hold each other accountable, and we also quite often it's been lucky that if one of us is sort of feeling a little bit pessimistic, the other one lifts the other one up, and we kind of like meet in the middle to keep consistent. But yeah, discipline is not an easy thing, and it's not something that like happens overnight because I think modern day lives, it's very, very easy to be comfortable,
Yeah.
and that's almost like the status quo for a lot of people, and we're almost rewarded in the short term for avoiding discomfort,
Mm-hmm.
and then in doing so our long-term situation becomes uncomfortable because we've not done anything and we've not chased the thing and we've not pushed ourselves outside of our comfort zone. We then reflect back and then we have that sense of, oh, I've not done everything that I could do. I'm not fulfilling my full potential, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it makes. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. So, what? I mean, obviously you've been doing stuff before you and your brother started the company. So you guys have a website, you have your physical product, you're marketing it, you're doing basically all the aspects, developing a program that ability. I know you can learn some of it, but some of it has to come from prior experience. So, what is your what experience did you bring? What's your day job and like, and then maybe even your brothers too. Like, what are you guys bringing before this that is letting you kind of do this, new company that you're doing, and just bring some experience to other people?
So yeah, so I guess if I look at my career and where it started, I started like an internship while I was at uni, and I went to a big old school tech sales, cybersecurity. Everyone was had a nice little belly and was wearing the suit. Um, and it it just put me off that like the corporate world like so heavily when I was there
Mm-hmm.
because I did the classic look up to what I would be if I spent 30 years in this career. And I was just like, these guys are just not happy. The way they
Yeah.
talk about their like spouses is horrible. The way that they like everything that's going on here is just like iffy. And I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
paint them all with a terrible brush because there were some lovely people in there as well, don't get me wrong. But they were kind of stuck. And I was disillusioned by the whole thing. So when I graduated uni, I then went into working in care jobs. So I worked with like the National Autistic Society. I worked in various different schools in like homelessness, worked with the elderly. So a real full spectrum of like helping people on
Mm-hmm.
a sort of like one-to-one basis. And then the disillusion came again because I was like, I went into that because I wanted to do the opposite of what I was doing before. I wanted to help people. And then I was kind of like, this is great and I'm helping people, but it's on such a small scale.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went and joined a startup. I was like one of the first people to enter the company, me and the co-founders. So I kind of had like the entrepreneurial sort of university at that point when I
Yeah.
joined that startup that I learned a ton from them. And I also was sort of saw how exciting it can be to be in a company. And if the
Mm-hmm.
mission's aligned with what you want, you really feel like you're building towards something bigger than yourself. So that was my history. So I've got like the background in helping people, and then
Mm-hmm.
I also had the background in entrepreneurship, sort of that from shadowing those successful startup founders in the early stages. And then for Sam, my brother, he started his own digital marketing agency, which has been really, really helpful because he's managed to
Yeah.
do a lot of the customer acquisition piece. And yeah, he used to be a school governor and stuff like that. And he had a similar sales career, which he left in a much more dramatic fashion than myself. The packing my bags and starting my business. Mic drop kind of moment, which was cool because he since then he's just been out on his own and like having to learn and figure things out. So we've kind of met in the middle and our skill sets sort
Yeah.
of overlap and intertwine.
Yeah. And did you get is who's older, first of all? Which one of you?
Sam is older, I'm younger, but everyone
Okay.
thinks the opposite.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know whether that's just because I've aged terribly or because I'm boring. But that's the that's the way the cookie crumbles.
But it's cool that you guys have found like what your strengths are that you can bring to it too, because I think that's a strength because like a lot of founders will end up having a strength and it's vision, and then that's that. And then everyone else is scrambling around them trying to sort the business out. That's what I found, in different companies, and it's really awkward. And then everyone kind of, yeah, they're a genius. And every time, for me, anytime someone's called a genius, I'm very like apprehensive about anything else about them because I'm like, you're calling them that. That's like saying someone like, oh, how was your date? Well, they were nice. Yeah, okay, it's not. You have a lot more to say, and you're just being diplomatic. I don't know. That's how I feel. I mean, yeah, like or if someone said, says you're unique, it's like, it's not gonna, we're not gonna go out again, are we? Like,
Well, unless you are, and you found the one because they appreciate the weirdness and the wonderfulness.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd rather be called weird, but anyway, we can talk about. Maybe I'll journal about my dating and send it to you, um, if that's what you help with. See how disciplined
Yeah,
I can be
I
at
can
it.
feel a viral blog coming on.
Can you imagine? Well, hey, if we can both get famous that way, um, that's cool. And so, so the idea, I mean, the idea of service and helping others resonates with me too. And I think I, I admire people who make that part of their career or make that their career because especially like just with charity work and stuff because I think first of all the money's not there usually. Like if you work for a charity and you're making a lot of money, there's probably like a questionable thing going on, right, with the
Mhm.
charity. But for me it's always been part of my life. So now with Evolve Journey, I think that's an act of service for sure. But do you have any other ways that you kind of like take care of that part of yourself that does want to serve others and help others?
Yeah, I think it's been so consumed with the business really and
Mm-hmm.
trying to just focus on that. And we sort of see it as like every new milestone that we make there, then we can like attribute helping, say, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people. And then you're
Mm-hmm.
like, if you want to get really mathematical about it, then you're like, oh, and then their whole family, and they're probably a family of five, they helped all of those. And their work's better. There's like 30 people that they're dealing with. And then you're like, oh, man. Uh,
Millions.
yes, we've helped the world. Um, no, so that's been really sort of like all consuming, if I'm
Yeah.
honest, in trying to especially balance that with keeping the lights on while the business is growing, and then um, it's an interesting one as well because it's like you're kind of forced into a situation where you're like the money needs to be in the business like a metric of success because
Mm-hmm.
without that then you can't have the influence to help people. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like yeah, if a charity is doing that and they're optimizing for cash, it's a bit dodgy, whereas we kind of have to do that to be able to then reinvest into the new
Yeah.
products to offer more, to expand to more places. And um yeah, that's it really.
No, that I mean that makes sense. And I think yeah, when you have a business and focus on, I mean, my parents had a business, auto repair. My dad was a mechanic, and my mom and dad ran the business together, and they were busy. Like 6 days a week. They were closed one day, and then they were working. 12-hour days, and that was just their shop. And I don't think they ever gave themselves credit for the fact that they were doing that because then I know when you're running any other kind of business it's the same thing. You don't really have time off because you're the one responsible for it, right? So, do you what do you do to like make sure that the business isn't taking over everything so you're not like giving yourself kind of what you're trying to give other people, which is some kind of balance in their life?
Mm, mm. Yeah, it's a good question, and I think probably if I was being like completely honest, like there's been sprint times where there definitely hasn't been
Yeah.
enough balance. Um, However, I think one of the things that makes it a lot easier is actually one of the frameworks that's inside the journal that we naturally reflect on quite a lot. So the we call it the four pillars of happiness, and this is a critical thing that we try and keep in balance at all times. So I can sort of talk you through what the four pillars are and how we got there. So the four pillars of happiness are health, wealth, relationships, and freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And what we say is if you're seriously deficient in any of those areas, then your long-term happiness and your level of just your average day happiness
Mm-hmm.
is going to be impeded, basically. You're going to struggle to have that. So we try and look at those four different pillars and focus on what we can control because there's things in those four pillars where you just can't control it. And
Yeah.
in like getting stuck in a doom loop about it isn't gonna solve things. So we try and build sustainably each of those four pillars, and the reason for that is the hedonic treadmill. So essentially, there's a ton of research that came out, which basically means if you've had your leg chopped off, amputated, or you've won the lottery, you're going to have a massive low or a peak high, and then you're going to return down to or up to a baseline level of happiness.
Hmm.
So knowing that that exists, the philosophy isn't around sort of like chasing the highs, the quick dopamine hits. It's more about trying to build those four pillars up so our average day is much happier. So,
Yeah.
in answer to your question, how we get the balance is it's a question that I ask myself, and quite often it will be my relationships, if I'm in a work sprint, I'll be like, oh, I've not really spoken to, and then the list of people that I should have been speaking to will come up, and then I'll go on a frenzy of
Yeah.
messaging loads of people I've not spoken to in ages, booking in the calendar, adjusting things, chopping out different priorities, and putting in time with friends. And then before I've even met them, I feel so much better because I know it's all sort of like planned in. I try and sort
Yeah.
of balance things like that, but it's a constant balance, to be honest. Is,
Yeah.
is it something that you've ever like consciously thought about in terms of those different priorities, or would you say where you try and find balance is something that just because I think before I started doing this, I was doing it instinctively in a
Yeah.
way, but not so proactively, if you see what I mean.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think I see where not as much in the last year. I mean, this in the last year, my the balance has been off because my work hasn't been as consuming as it had been, and I think I was almost balancing things by always being hectic, if that makes sense. Like I was
Hmm.
used to that. I was used to a certain level of stress, where you kind of said there's a baseline of happiness. I had a baseline of stress, and I operated under, and I think in the last year I've realized that that's lifted, but I didn't handle that in a healthy way. But I think as
Mm.
far as I've been in situations where, yeah, I'm focusing on one area so much, and I think where actually I didn't expect to get asked the questions, and I'm like, oh, what is this? How dare you? But I think where I realized something was years ago when I was like probably 10 years ago that I was not being balanced at home because I was at my mom's house, and I always had my computer on, always on my lap, always on my desk, whatever, doing something. And my nephew sat with me with his iPad and said, and I said, "Hey, buddy," and he goes, "Oh, you're working." Like he was telling me I'm working, so he couldn't talk to me, and he brought his iPad so he could work. And I thought that was really sad
Mm.
because it's one of the most important people in my life, and he very much is still. And I had made it so that me, not even as his parent, someone he saw every day, had made it so he didn't feel like I had time for him because I was working. And I think that made me realize, like, okay, at some point you have to stop working. And plus, I wasn't working for me; I was working for someone else that was making the money, not me. Right? I was getting paid, but and so I think that was a big aha moment for me, where I was more conscious of it, like even over time, like trying not to have my phone out as much if I'm with friends or something. Because if they're going to do that, fine, let them, that's their behavior. That's what they're choosing to do when they're spending time with me. But I'm not
Mm.
going to do it when I'm spending time with them. So I've thought about it, but not consistently. I've thought about it almost out of duress a few times,
Yeah,
if that
yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and just subconsciously it's like
Hmm.
there's been turning points and things have just come up that have changed the perspective. But yeah, that's I think that's what you hit on there is also one of the interesting parts about the four pillars because they all sort of intertwine. So what you were speaking about there is actually it's like you could link in and say that's a wealth thing because that's part of your
Hmm.
job and that's how you're earning your money. But then you could also say this is a freedom thing because this is where you are and how you're choosing to spend your time.
Hmm.
And because of your work situation, that's like eating up time that you could spend on insert the other
Yeah.
thing. So,
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think that it is interesting when I think coming from America, and this is all in the U.S., and there's definitely a different attitude and mindset around work in the U.S. And there was
mm,
something about burning yourself out that was almost rewarded. Like there would be the idea that you'd thank someone for ending their vacation early. Oh, they're a hero because they left their vacation or they were on vacation with their family and they ended up working for 3 days with us instead.
Hmm.
And that's really sick because you, as the business or the boss, you said you don't value them at all as a person. They're just
Hmm.
working for you, even in the time that they earned off. And last time I heard someone do that, I just said like I thought that was really gross because that person should have never been asked to come back.
Yeah.
It's not like you're doing heart surgery or something or
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever. It's just all you're doing something that's relatively meaningless in the context of
Yeah.
humanity.
Yeah. And it's like
Um,
they could have been with their kids. That could have been a
yeah,
memory that everyone involved could have taken
yeah,
with them for the rest of their lives, you know? And that was cut short because of culture within,
yeah,
say, a society or a company.
yeah.
Um, it's interesting. Have you seen about like certain companies that have, I don't know if it's over in the US, but I know it's becoming more of a thing in like the European UK startup market where they're giving employees unlimited leave. And you think on face value, you're like, oh, that's so nice, so
Yeah,
generous. And then you look underneath the hood, and then you're inside the actual culture. And then it's kind of like everyone's peer pressured to take way less than they would
yeah,
have if they just had the 25 days or whatever. And it's kind of see I can see how it would be great in certain
yeah,
organizations, and I would just do the most highest impact thing, get the results, and then I would put my feet up, and then I'd come back, and it'd be great.
yeah.
But in reality, it feels like a little bit of a trick.
No, it
So
is. It is. So, our in the U.S., the people who work for my company have it because that parent company has it there. In the U.K., we don't. But we honestly get more time off. I mean, I went from 3 weeks off, and that was after working somewhere for 6 years. I got 15 days off, and then I moved here, and it was 25, and
mm,
then now it's 30, right? And so over there, so there are a couple of things, and I have friends who also have the unlimited leave, and there's really, there's this idea that you can, but then should you take the days off, and then you don't want to take too many off, and then really they can't take like a month off. It's like really 2 weeks, like most, and which honestly makes sense. Like at some point, like taking a month at a time off is really tough on a business or for a business. But yeah, I think people don't. Yeah, they don't feel like they can actually take unlimited time off. I mean, the nice thing is if you have a doctor's appointment and take a half day instead of pressuring yourself to like go to the doctor appointment, come back, work, make up the time, that kind of thing's good. But yeah, I think a lot of times they've found out, and there's research online. I remember reading something about it that people who have unlimited PTO take less time off than people who don't because they're not gonna. Also, this is the other thing. When you leave it, I'm all, yeah, dude, your brother would like this because of how he must have left his job. He sounds like me. But basically, also, like when you leave a job, you get paid out your PTO, right?
mhm.
Like if you have 2 weeks left or 3 weeks left, when you have unlimited PTO, you get paid out nothing. So now the company's no
Yeah.
longer carrying a balance on you. That's the one that was I remember hearing going, oh, that's like you know, because that's kind of a nice boost sometimes, especially if you didn't mean to leave your job, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And especially if, you're only getting 15 days and you're going job to job to job, like that's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Have you noticed a difference in sort of having lived in both places? Do you think that that has an effect? We're talking 10 days a year here, but I think
Oh,
on
for
on
sure.
average, right? But do you think that that has a effect on people's health, like the way that they show up, their overall like stress levels, or do you think people have adapted to it and actually the 15 days is fine and we need to work harder? Like where do
No,
you sort of sit having seen both sides?
well, I think that no, because I think in what happens in the U.S. too is this idea of sick time. I've never had a job that had sick time, so that 15 days also counted for being ill, and so you would work when you were ill. It didn't matter.
Eesh.
And then over here, a lot of times you do get some kind of thing for sick. I mean, not in I don't think in wage jobs where you're working per hour. I mean, I think that's still rough everywhere, but I think in salary jobs. But I think no, it made a big difference because it was the difference between going on an actual vacation and just using all the time to travel back home to see my family, for example, or yeah, take a few more long weekends. It's a big difference. Or,
Mm.
the pressure to use all the time off during the holidays, like the festive season as they call it over here, right? Like if you only have 15 days, then and maybe your like in my case, not a partner, but whatever, my family, they have these days off and you have to take those days off. Now you have no more time left. And so I think, yeah, it's a big difference in giving people a little more time off. And I think then they can feel more like that they can live and not just work and then get resentful about it. But it is an interesting. It was definitely culturally different. And I mean, when I moved over, it was right. I moved into my flat. The next day was the lockdown, so it was a lot different. But and I didn't really need to use time off. I mean, what was I gonna do? Just like sit. Oh, I'll sit in my flat with nothing to do versus something. But but yeah, like it's made a big difference since then for sure.
No.
It's way
Yeah.
different.
And if you look at those four pillars, like I would argue that someone who's sort of limited to that degree,
Hmm.
their baseline level of happiness is just limited in a way
Yeah.
because their time for such a disgusting proportion of the year is just dictated to them, right?
Hmm.
And often it's time and location, and then that stops them from being able to pour into health and relationships, for
Yeah.
example, which then just makes the problem even worse.
Yeah, for sure. And I think then if they don't have a way or an understanding of how to balance it, or even a way of understanding that this isn't good for them, it gets, worse. And I think that's where you do see a lot of burnout and people not being happy and health problems and things like that, right? It's just the constant stress.
Yeah. And people don't necessarily, when they don't aren't self-aware and there's no reflection practice, what we see is that people understand that there's something not right. There's this
Hmm.
ambient feeling of things not being in the right place and feeling stuck in a pattern, but they don't actually, either because they're not reflecting or because they don't have the support and someone who's got a fresh perspective to say, hey, it's actually this really obvious thing that you're neglecting.
Hmm.
So there's none of that. So then they're stuck in a position where they want better, but they don't know how to get it, or they don't know what it is that's blocking them from where they want to
Right.
go to, because actually knowing the thing and knowing the blocker, that's half the battle and almost the hardest part. And actually removing it is quite often sometimes just made up of really small little decisions that
Yeah.
are quite simple in practice, and then all of a sudden you're in a much better place.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just that ability, right, to zoom out and get that 10,000 foot view when you're all you can see is weeds because you've just got to be in a grind. So,
Hmm.
which journaling can
Yeah.
help with, I think, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And going back to what you were saying earlier about um the specific, like, and that's why being really specific with these prompts can be helpful, because you gave the example of like tell a joke. It's like, yeah, tell a joke, and then I don't know, I'm lost. And then tell a knock knock joke. Oh, right, I've got three. Here
Yeah.
here you go. They're all bad. But the specific prompt actually brings so much more out of you than just sort of vague thoughts like, oh, I'll try and do my thinking in the shower because it's the only time I'm not on my phone. And it's just all very vague. Nothing's written down. You feel cleaner, but how much has actually changed?
Yeah. Yeah. And now your journal's wet.
Yeah.
Like, don't try to write when you're in the shower, please. Well, Freddie, I mean, it's been great to just chat through all this with you and given me a lot to think about. And I hope people listening a lot to think about, or even the thought that maybe they want to join you on the evolved journey. But do you have any advice or mantra that you use that either you have always used or that you've got out of doing the work you're doing now that you'd like to share with people?
Yeah, I think it's a simple one, and it is reflection plus action equals progress.
Hmm. Yeah. Nice. I like that. So I think what we'll do next is very predictably get into the fun fives. So it's 5 questions I ask every guest that I personally think are fun. and sometimes they do. So we'll see how it goes for you. The first one is just, what is the oldest t-shirt you have and still wear?
It's a t-shirt that's about 11 years old, and it says, "Don't be a prick" on it. And there's a silhouette of a cactus,
Great.
and it's got a massive hole there. It's completely falling apart. And there's probably been ironic moments along the way where I've worn it and been a prick. So there you go.
Nice. Well, you couldn't always see the writing on it when you were when you were wearing it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh
That
yeah,
was,
great.
oh, that was me.
Good reminder. um, all right. So if every day was really like Groundhog's Day, like it seemed like, well, it can seem like that for people now too, but it seemed like when I wrote this question in 2020, um, what song would you set your alarm clock to play every morning to wake you up?
Good question. I will go for Nelly Furtado, "I'm Like a Bird."
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
I didn't, I almost, well, I didn't expect that. All right. So is that,
I was flip-flopping in my mind because that was like a fun, happy version. And then the other one, which would be like, let's set ourselves up for a crazy day every day, would be like, have you ever heard of the guy Jocko Willink?
uh-uh.
Um, he's like a ex-military guy. And he's got this album. It's just him talking on Spotify. It's this
Okay.
album. It's called Psychological Warfare, I think. And it will start, and he'll be like, "That thing that your head is on is a pillow, and it's suffocating your
Oh my
dreams.
God.
Get up."
No.
So you could go happy, Nelly Furtado, "I'm Like a Bird," or you could go like, "Woo," a bit of a spicy one. So,
Oh my gosh. All right. So, yeah, I can see why you ended up with I'm like a bird if it was
yeah,
going to be
yeah,
the same every day. All right. So, coffee or tea or neither?
coffee. I'm
Yeah.
big on the mushroom coffee at the moment.
Oh,
Yeah, I would. What I've been drinking during this has been Space Goods. I'd really recommend it. It's tasty.
okay,
Um,
cool. I just got that the lion's mane
yeah.
powder for my coffee and I really feel like it actually is helpful. So,
Yeah. There's so many good ones out there. The main thing is like you want I think it's like the fruit and body of the mushroom because some
mm,
of them are just sort of like cheap stalk, like it's lion's mane, but there's
yeah.
nothing actually good in there that will have the effect. So
Okay.
yeah, I love it though. I can notice a real difference when I'm drinking it, and I don't have like the I'm very sensitive to the caffeine, so I'd have like a
Okay.
horrible crash and get all like anxious afterwards. But
Yeah.
just the lion's mane coffees, yeah, it's great.
Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. Good shout. And okay, can you think of like something that just makes you laugh so hard you cry, or just something that cracks you up when you think of it?
A recent one that comes to mind, probably because I'm in my parents' house, was we all found out that when there's like a storm and it's like really raining outside, that my dad goes out and checks the gutters and the drains because we had a flood once. He does this butt naked in the middle of the night.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, wow.
So imagine
There's,
like a British version of like Peter Griffin
yeah. Oh
out
no,
there
your
out,
dad.
out there in like a in a deep squat trying to get leaves out of a drain. So that makes me chuckle every time
Did you
because he didn't
find
want to
that
get
out? Yeah,
he didn't want to get his clothes wet. Sleeps naked. So why
but
put clothes on?
How did you find this out? Did you see this, or you just heard about it?
Yeah, luckily I didn't see it.
Good man.
Else that
Yeah,
would be a something ingrained in my mind and not
yeah,
necessarily something that I want.
yeah. You have to
Yeah.
lend him your shirt. But um, wow. Okay, cool. And that's crazy. All right. Who inspires you right now?
Good question. I would say Pierce Brown. I'm reading a lot of his books at the moment. He's got a series called Red Rising. I'd recommend that
Okay.
for people. That's my like way of switching off when I can't work anymore,
Okay.
and just like transport myself into another planet.
It's
That's
fiction.
yeah, yeah,
Cool. Nice. Yeah, because I saw you guys have a book list and you've read a lot of some books that overlap with what I've read or what I have on my shelf that didn't read but have there. But yeah, that's cool. So good. So fiction and a fiction author. That's awesome. All right. Well, the last question I have for you, Freddie, is just like, how do you want people to find you guys, and where do you want them to look you up? And if they do want to check out a journal, where should they go?
Yeah, head over to our website, or you can find us on Instagram. We read all of the emails that come in, all of the DMs. They go directly to me and Sam. So Instagram, we're Evolve Journey, and the website is just evolvejourney.co.uk. We're live in America as well. We ship
Cool.
direct from there, and then same in the UK. So yeah, get in touch. We're always happy to help. You don't even need to buy a journal if you want to just chat about things. If you're unsure about anything, we're always happy to help.
Awesome. That's great. Well, thanks so much for doing the more than work and for getting in touch. It was really great to meet and chat with you, Freddie.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. You can learn more about the guest and what was talked about in the show notes. Joe Mafia created the music you're listening to. You can find him on Spotify at Joe, Maffia. Rob Metke does all the design, for which I am so grateful. You can find him online by searching Rob, Metke. Please leave a review if you like the show, and get in touch if you have feedback or guest ideas. The pod is on all the social channels at More Than Work Pod or at Rabiah Comedy on TikTok. While being kind to others, don't forget to be kind to yourself.